everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. All right, I bet when you got into records, nobody told you that you would need tools. Tools? Just to listen to your music? We are stepping so far away from the convenience and ease of MP3s, it's ridiculous, or streaming audio. But yes, tools. So what tools do you really need? Which tools don't you need? You're not going to want to miss this. Also, what is this? Stay tuned to the end to find out. Now don't freak out, you don't need all this junk. Even though I'm not including any production equipment, there's a lot of production equipment for running the channel, camera supports, lights, microphones, etc. Not including all of that. This is truly just for either working on, operating, or owning record players. Even still, this is way more than any beginner or most people would need. I just happen to have a lot of stuff because I work with a lot of different record players. So I need different things for different types. Plus, I get a lot of things like 45 adapters and cables and things that come with review products. So I sort of accumulate them way more than a normal person would. That being said, it would be rare if you could be into analog media and not start to form at least somewhat of a toolkit or accessory kit. Now, we're going to cross over a bit from just pure accessories into things that really do form the basis for a toolkit. Let me show you what I mean. Early on in my vinyl record journey, I realized, and this is back when I had absolutely nothing, I realized that I needed at a minimum a brush because records accumulate dust and you have to have a way to clean them. And this is an accessory, but it's also a tool. So the very first thing you will need is a brush. And I'm not going to really talk about different kinds or review any specific products, but this is a felt brush, and it's great because it'll help you clean the dust off your records. So that is, the first thing that you will be like, oh, I have to have one of these, I guess. And nobody talks about this really when you get into vinyl records. It just sort of happens. You sort of realize, oh, I'm going to need that. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what? Now, you will learn that there are different types of things. And even with brushes, there are just different kind of brushes. My favorite kind of brush are these carbon fiber brushes. None of this is really expensive, but the carbon fiber is my preferred way to do it. So, I rarely use a felt brush anymore. I will usually use this. And then you will notice that your stylus will start to accumulate gunk, even, if you use a brush. So you'll need a brush for the stylus. So there's, another thing that you're going to need. Now, most people will, that's pretty much it. Now, keeping your records clean is an important thing. We've talked about spin clean. We've talked about ultrasonic cleaners. But again, I really don't want to focus on the accessories. But these first two accessories are sort of the bare minimum that you will need. However, when you start having record players for a period of time, you have to do things like replacing belts, replacing cartridges. You may need more than just these basics. Something I did early on was grab one of these little trays. This is something you could find at Walmart or something. These little accessory trays can be used for anything, but these little compartmentalized areas are great when you start accumulating things like extra stylus covers. I have odds and ends tools, like this is a Grado cartridge removal tool. Lots of cheap 45 adapters. Of course, you don't need those when you've got your trusty Record-ology custom 3D printed one. But also cartridges. I've got like a pile of phono cartridges here. And as long as they have the stylus guard on them, you can just put them in there right there. I've got an overflow back here. Rest in peace, my beautiful Grado 78 cartridge with no stylus at the moment. Here's a Bampa flip cartridge, and disappointingly, they come with two micro groove styli. You have to add the one that has the wide groove in it. My Empire ID50, I still need to get a stylus for this. So these kinds of things are perfectly suited. Different types of stylus brushes, we looked at that. Got a bunch of red tip stylus replacements for ceramics. and screws and removal kits, bubble levels, head shells, pretty much everything under the sun is in here. This is a really handy way to organize your stuff. And this is a true peek behind the curtain here. I'm not trying to, I could have taken the time to coil these up, make it look nice, but I want to show you what it's really like. This is, my overflow. So super random stuff. Like, can you guess what this is? Let me know down in the comments below if you know what this is. And it actually kind of has something to do with Techmoan's recent video, which was a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, I mean, I need to go through here and organize it. And sometimes production equipment does eke into this. This is pretty handy. This is a little USB audio card. I had a computer that had no way to do a line input recording. And so I was able to pick this little guy up and self-installs its drivers, and it gives you a line input. Cords. Cords is a huge thing. You're going to accumulate cords. If you've been around here for a while, you will remember that years ago, I had this genius idea, and I put genius in air quotes because it really wasn't genius at all. And you guys warned me that this was a bad idea, and I went for it anyway. And true to form, you were right. So what I did was I took all of my cables and I separated them by type. So all of my USB cables, Type C's, whatever, I separated them in my power supplies, and I put them all in a bunch of, what did I do? Oh, rubber bands. Okay, the first thing, was rubber bands. And so they were nice and neat because they were turning into one of those Clark Griswold, balls of tangled knots.
I'll get the other box.
And you guys were like, don't do that, the rubber will break, and it'll just be a mess. And also don't put them in shopping bags. I put them in a bunch of like shopping bags from like the supermarket before they were banned back in Colorado. It's really weird going shopping at a store in Colorado and everybody's carrying their stuff out the door. It looks like everybody's shoplifting. It's very strange. But yeah, you have to buy your bags there. And some stores like Walmart don't even sell them. So people are literally just carrying their stuff out there. But I took those bags and I, put all of the rubber banded cords in there, and the bags broke down, and ultimately it turned into another huge mess. So I've got this solution that's working pretty good for me now. I've got 2 of these really useful box. I think this is a UK company. They're basically like a rugged plastic tote. They make them in all sizes. I even have a small one that fits baseball cards perfectly. They make giant ones. And I use this one for cords. So this is sort of a hodgepodge of power supplies for different devices, different amperages, wattages, a couple audio cords in there. Bricks, things of that nature. There's some speaker wire, some antenna wire is in there. So when I'm doing a review or I'm working on something, I'm testing something, this is sort of my go-to for cables. This is just, kind of one of every common type that I have, but there's more behind the scenes. There's more. Just say there's more. But that is recommended. So take, maybe a little box. It could just be a cardboard box. It could be a bag as a temporary thing, and put, make sure that you kind of have one of every kind of cord within arm's reach. Easy. I keep this in the studio here under the desk, and that really works well. But there are some things that, I need even more frequently when I'm shooting, when I'm testing, and I put those in a smaller tote. So they're going to be everything from a marker. If I need to notch, make a mark for whatever reason. If I need an RCA audio cable, I've got one of these in here. I've got a cloth, one of these microfiber cloths. I've got a pair of scissors in here. I've got my tracking force gauge. This is another tool that I would highly recommend. It's $10. It's made by a variety of companies. It's just a digital tracking force gauge, and it's very helpful if you want to check the tracking force. Even though you can manually set it on a tone arm on a lot of turntables, sometimes it's nice to either verify that or just skip that step and set it. This will allow you to do it precisely. Obviously, it's good to have a record cleaning solution handy, and this one has a cord? No, that would be a cloth. I have a cloth in here, and it just unscrews like this. And this stuff, maybe it unscrews like that. Yeah, so you spray it on there, and then you can wipe it with a cloth. These things last forever. I've had this thing for years. You can see it's a Walmart brand one, and it's like wiping off there. So let's see what else. I got one of my brushes in here. I talked about the scissors. I do keep headphones, and these continuously turn into a knot. I need to go in here and clean this up again, but I didn't want to like, make this look super like polished. I wanted to do it. This is very real, a day in the life kind of deal. So if I come in to film like I did today, and this and any given day it's going to be a knot. So there you go. So I keep headphones for testing inputs and things. I've got some belts in here as well. Some things I try to keep tied up. So I've got there's a USB-C. Here's a stylus gel cleaner. This is a random remote. This needs to be somewhere else. Production microphone in there. Some stylus replacements. I've got some screw-on feet. A silica packet just happened to make its way in there. But yeah, so there's some various interesting items there. I have no idea why I've got a pumpkin candle in there, but you never know. Counterbalance, an extra counterbalance. Sometimes you'll come across a turntable that's missing one. And, there's a possibility this one would fit, so there you go. Okay, this is a non-exhaustive list of some very non-essential tools and things that you just don't need them. I mean, there's so much fluff in this hobby in terms of, well, you have to do this, you have to have that. And in my experience, all this is my opinion, of course, there's a lot of fluff out there. And not that they don't do something or that they don't work, but they're just frivolous to a degree. One thing that I never find myself using are label protectors. This is a rubber label protector that you put down before you spray clean a record. And a lot of people freak out about getting their labels wet when they clean records. It's just not a problem. There has been, I was talking to somebody in a comment not too long ago, there are some records, specifically ones with a matte finish orange label that can bleed a little bit, but most labels don't bleed, there's no damage, it doesn't matter if they get wet. So this is somewhat frivolous. Plus, putting a piece of rubber on top of it while you spray it isn't a guaranteed solution anyway. So, don't rush out and get those. These are things that opinions I've developed over time. This too is cool, but I don't ever reach for it. These are felt clamshell record grabbers, so you don't have to touch the surface of the record. I've gotten pretty good about handling records without feeling the need to grab the surface. This we looked at just the other day. This is a belt key, so when you're putting a belt on a turntable, this allows you to grab it without touching it. Again, a lot of people freak out about touching rubber belts. Don't. It doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother you. But if you, feel the need to use one of these, it won't do any damage, of course. In fact, quite the opposite. It is good in all circumstances, but it's unnecessary. You can just touch the belt and pull it to wherever it needs to be. But if you don't want to do that, there's a tool for that. Also, clamps, weights. I never use them. And, I've reviewed them. And in some cases, some people love weights. They look cool. Clamps arguably are gentler because they don't weigh a lot. They just kind of screw down on top to create that firm adhesion, and the weight looks really, really cool, but does it make a huge difference? I've really found that it doesn't make a huge difference. The next thing are record display devices. This is more of an accessory, but this one is a tripod one. It's cool to have. I mean, not to say that, these aren't cool or fun, but, you don't really need little kickstands and display devices. This one is a kind of a cool wood one to display your records or hold them upright. It's okay to let your records be stacked while you're cleaning temporarily. You don't need to freak out and always have them in a vertical position. Just when you store them, that's when you really want them vertical. This thing over here looks like a brush, but it's not. It's something that I haven't talked about in a long time, and I'm just going to hold it at this angle. But it is it's basically a big magnet with a felt-lined bottom, and this is going to represent the category of audiophile products. And this is a magnet that supposedly makes records sound better by conditioning the magnetism or the magnetic properties, even though, do records even have magnetic properties? The carbon that they add, the black carbon, has a minute amount, but vinyl obviously is a non-magnetic formula. But still, This product is designed to supposedly greatly increase the sound quality of your records by passing this over them. You can derail things and your budget drastically by going down the hi-fi upgrades route. And we've done a show on affordable hi-fi upgrades, putting silicone feet. That's another one. You can spend a lot of money on silicone feet upgrades for sound isolation. Diminished returns, the law of diminished returns. Look that up if you're not familiar about it. You can spend a lot of money on very, very minimal improvements. So I'm going to use this as an example for that. Another thing you see me use a lot on the show is a stroboscopic disc for checking the speed on a record player. You can either print one off for free, they're all over the place, or you can buy one like this. And then another thing that's important to have too is one of these. This is an alignment protractor to help you align your cartridge when you're putting a cartridge on. We'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, that's important. Again, you can just print them off. Some record players come with them. In fact, dang, I already put it away, but one of the freebies that I got with, I think Fluence includes them as an example, have these. So you don't need a fancy rigid one like this. You can buy them, but yeah, so strobe disc, alignment protractor. If you're replacing your cartridge or intend to, those will be needed. And if you want to set your anti-skate, a blank acrylic platter mat or a blank record is important to have as well. Now I want to come back to this as we wrap this up. So when you replace a cartridge, that's definitely something that's going to justify some tools. Also, in addition to that, the hardware that goes along with it, the screws. So different cartridges will require different screw types, different nuts, different parts. Some have washers. So having like a little bottle like this to keep various parts in is really, really handy. I got some overflow, as you can see right there as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, when it comes to servicing or working on your stylus, you need a screwdriver that is an appropriate type for doing that. And I always say that, your small sort of utility screwdrivers aren't small enough. If you're making an electric motor speed adjustment, you can't just use, like a tweaker tool or something like that. And I'll get to that in a minute. You need smaller than you think screwdrivers. Now, there are industry-specific ones. This is an Ortophone, I think. It's designed for making adjustments and removing head shells. It's a flat one. Sometimes you need something that small that is a Phillips. So the best way to do that, the easiest way to do that if you don't have something like this, is just go to Walgreens or Walmart and buy an eyeglass repair kit, because those have very small bits and they fit perfectly in a lot of cases. But when it comes to making speed adjustments on a motor, although this may be small enough, you've got a problem in that it's conductive. It can short out the motor, which may not cause a whole lot of damage up front. It can cause damage, but more than even the damage is it will short out by touching the edge when you're adjusting the trim pot and speed up and slow down the motor and make it almost impossible to adjust. So they make these really cool non-conductive screwdrivers for that purpose. So this has a material, I don't know if it's plastic, but basically you can make that adjustment and it's non-conductive, so it won't short the motor out, which means it's a lot easier to set. This, I don't know what kind of material they use for this, but you would think a plastic screwdriver tip like that would just snap off and become mushy, but this is rigid. So it's some super dense material. I don't know exactly what kind, but it's a plastic of some sort. I'm not sure. Maybe you can let me know in the comments down below. So this is super handy, and I didn't have one until I reviewed something that came with one, and people have been telling me to get one of these non-conductive adjustment screwdrivers, and I'm glad I did. So that is huge. Also, you're going to need a regular Phillips screwdriver as well as a regular flathead screwdriver, probably a couple different tip sizes and depths. The pitch or the angle of the Phillips at the tip can vary greatly on different types of screws. So, a basic screwdriver kit is important as well for removing back panels, bottom panels from turntables. And again, be very careful. I'm not even addressing the safety of making these adjustments, but if you're going to do it, you're going to need some basic tools. As you can see, all of a sudden, getting into this hobby is going to require something. It may not be all of this, but it may be something. Extra belts, always good to have. All right, guys, and that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up my mess and get on with things.
Wait.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we actually have forgotten a couple of things.
No, I think this is it.
No. First, we need some Tylenol.
Oh, boy. I mean, there are times when I have a headache, so okay, that's reasonable.
Sparkly gecko?
Probably less reasonable, but okay.
Green marker.
We actually did have a Sharpie on earlier, so a green one is fine. Okay.
Some vampire venom.
Definitely not needed. Definitely
that in there.
Not needed. I hope it's not needed.
Seashell.
Okay. This is a collection at this point.
Some Chex Mix.
Okay, that's actually fair. I do get a little hungry in here.
Some Kleenex.
If the record player doesn't work, I do cry.
Stapler.
Never needed that. Not yet, anyway.
A gift card that doesn't have anything on it.
Useful.
A random remote that doesn't turn anything on.
Second random remote in this episode, actually. So fair.
A mixer.
Okay.
A little dish.
Naturally. Guano bowls. Collect the whole set.
Adam the Whoop sticker.
Okay. Gotta respect the competition.
A leaf fossil.
Of course. That looks fake.
A heat wrap.
That's sometimes you lift up these heavy things and you get a backache. Okay, fair enough.
And
is that it?
Some blue Play-Doh.
And some blue Play-Doh.
All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. As always, this is highly subjective. So I want to hear from you. What tools do you keep? What do you really use and need? What do you consider to be unnecessary? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, I've got a big surprise for you guys. We have available a new exclusive 45 adapter color. This is cranberry. So available in both styles of 45 adapter. A limited time only. During the month of November, you can get the cranberry sauce, I think is what we're calling it, 45 adapter. So definitely check that out. For the folks that are collecting all the different colors, you're not going to want to miss this one for your arsenal of Record-ology custom 45 adapters. Obviously, this helps support the channel, and for that we are eternally grateful, as well as grateful to our members and our viewers and you for being there, for watching and supporting us. We really love you guys. You're awesome. But my friends, that's going to do it for today. So happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.